Good morning, viewers. This is Kasturi Day. Today, again, I've come to discuss the atomic structure according to YCC syllabus class 8. So today I'll start with valency. Okay. So in my previous video, I was discussing about the valence shell, valence electrons, the rules for writing the number of electrons, that is electronic configuration. And then what are the rules for writing this electronic configuration? What are the contradictions of Dalton's atomic theory? And another thing was there, that chemical bond, what is needed to hold the, hold the electrons in their orbits. Okay. And this bond is a force of attraction between two similar or different atoms to form a molecule or to form an element or a compound. So forming an element or a compound, there's a force of attraction needed between two similar or different atoms. Okay. So that is chemical bond. Then they follow the octet and the duplet rules for electronic configuration to make it stable. Okay, to make the atom stable. Okay, by losing or gaining electrons, we have discussed this. And now I'm starting with valency today. So what is valency? It is the number of electrons which is donated or accepted by an atom of an element so as to have the electronic configuration of the nearest noble gas. It is also known as the combining capacity. Okay, so combining capacity of an atom, yes, it is the combining capacity of the atoms, okay, where the number of electrons, either they are donated or they are accepted by an atom, okay, forming so as to make the electronic configuration to the nearest noble gas, that is the outer shell, that is the valence shell. Okay, the outermost shell will have at least 8 electrons. So they follow the octet rule. So nearest octet rule is followed by the elements. Okay, so by giving away or accepting electrons. So that is known as how many electrons are given away or how many electrons are accepted by an atom. That makes the valency, or that is the combining capacity of an atom. Okay, so if the electrons are donated by an atom, if an atom they donate the electrons to another element, then the electronic configuration of the nearest noble gas, so that it attains the electronic configuration of the nearest noble gas, then the valency becomes positive. Because what happens if it donates the electrons, then the electronegativities, that is the negative charge of the electrons, that becomes less than the positive charge which is present in the nucleus of the same atom. Okay, so the balance of the charge gets disproportionate. Okay, so the negative charge becomes less than the positive charge. So the atom becomes electrically positive or electropositive. Okay. Now, if it gains electrons, if an atom gains electrons, then what happens? Its negative charge increases than the positive charge which is present in the nucleus, in its nucleus. Okay. So what happens if it gains electrons and it forms according to the octet rule, it moves to the nearest noble gas configuration. Then the valency becomes, as its electrons negative charge increases, so it becomes electrically negative or electronegative. Okay, so here you can see that generally metals are electropositive, that is they donate electrons to form the electronic configurations which is nearest to the noble gas. The non-metals are generally negative, electronegative. Okay, sometimes there is a group of 2 or more different atoms which has a net positive or net negative charge on them, and that is known as a radical. For example, see NH4 plus. Okay, so NH4 plus means what? Nitrogen is there, hydrogen is there, and they have a positive charge on them. So it's an electropositive radical, okay, having two atoms, two different atoms, okay, forming a compound, but it behaves like a single atom having a single electropositive charge. Okay, so its valency is 1, as it has only one positive charge extra. That is, it has donated one electron and therefore it has gained one positive charge. Electropositive valency is 1 plus 1, that is. Then SO4 2 minus. Here sulfur is there, oxygen is there, okay, but it has a charge of 2 minus, that is 2 negative charge is there on this ion. Okay, on this radical, it is behaving as a radical because it's a compound, but it is behaving a radical single atom. It is behaving like a single ion, okay, having a negative charge of 2 2 negative charge is there. So it has a valency of 2, having -2 is the valency of this radical. It is known as sulfate ion. Okay, and the previous one, it was ammonium ion. Okay, next is variable valency. Now some elements that exhibit more than one valency, that is said to have a variable valency. So some elements that we exhibits more than one valency, either it's +2 +3 or +1 +2, so or rather 2 3 3 4, like that. I mean, more than one valency is there present in the same atom, same element. Okay, so that is known as variable valency. For example, iron has two variable valencies. I mean, two valencies are there. That is, one is ferrous and ferric, iron 2, iron 3. Then copper 1 and 2, tin also, lead also, sulfur, phosphorus, etc. They all exhibit variable valency. In case of metals, variable valency is represented by lower valence. The lower valency of it is represented by adding the suffix "as" to the name of the metal, and represented by the higher valency is represented by the suffix, by adding the suffix "ik." For example, iron, the lower valency, it has been exhibited by adding "as," that is, if the lower valency, that is the 2 valency, if the iron 2 is known as ferrous, and the iron 3 valency, it is represented it is known as ferric. Okay, FERROUS, FERRIC, ferric. Okay, so this is the example of this type of variable valency, having "as" as the lower valency and "ik" as the suffix of the higher valency. They can also be represented by Roman numbers after the symbol of the element according to the modern methods. Okay, according to the modern methods, we can write it like this: ferric as FE, then 1 2 3. Roman numerals 1 2 3, 3 I's, you can say. And in the lower valency, the Fe2 will be represented as, ferrous is get represented as Fe, then the Fe is the symbol with the 2 Roman numerals. In the Roman numerals, 2 is written, that is 2I. Okay, like this it is represented. In case of non-metals also, they exhibit variable valency, like phosphorus exhibit 3 and 5. For example, see PCl3 and PCl5. First one, phosphorus has 3 valency, and second one, phosphorus has 5 valency. So like this, the metals and non-metals both exhibit this variable valency. Next we come to radioactivity. Now, one of the fortunate simple observations which hastened the scientific progress is the discovery of radioactivity. Okay, in 1896, Professor Henry Becquerel, while working in Paris on the nature of phosphorescent substances, found a sample of crystals of potassium uranyl sulfate. Okay, crystal of potassium uranyl sulfate he found when he exposed to the invisible radiations from uranium metal present in the crystals, even if he wrapped it with a light-proof thick black paper and put it in the drawer. Okay, what did he do? He wrapped a light-proof thick black paper on the crystals of this potassium uranyl sulfate, and he found that some invisible radiations are coming out from the uranium metals which are present in that crystals, because potassium uranyl sulfate, so it has uranium metal in it, and from that this light radiations are coming out. He observed this. Excuse me. Henry Becquerel in 1896 observed this, and by this observations, by this discovery, he discovered this radioactivity first. Now, further, he developed an apparatus by which he could measure the amount of radiations which had been given out by the uranium per unit time. How much radiations the uranium is giving out, the metal uranium is giving out per unit time, that that has to be measured. So he discovered and developed an apparatus to measure this, and he did so. Okay, he found out that the rate of emission of radiations from a fixed mass of uranium remain unaffected by any chemical change, any physical change. Okay, he found that when he was measuring the radiations, how much radiation is coming out per unit time, he found that these radiations which are coming out, that remains unaffected by any chemical change which is taking place or any physical change which is taking place. Either you are heating it, cooling it, finally dividing it, etc. Whatever physical change is occurring, that does not affect the radiations. Neither the chemical changes which are occurring with the this uranium metal will affect this radiations. Okay, as these radiations are unaffected by this physical and chemical changes, then the electrons are not involved in these radiations. Okay, so he found that as these radiations are not affected by the physical and chemical changes, so that means the electrons are not affected, not involved in these radiations. These radiations, therefore, he deduced that these radiations must be coming out from the nucleus of the atom at some fixed rate naturally. So electrons are not involved in these radiations, in these radioactive radiations. Only the nucleus of the atom is involved at some fixed rate, which is coming out naturally. Okay. Later, what happened? Later, Professor Smith, then Marie Curie and Pierre Curie, all of them, they discovered more elements which produce these emissions. There are certain terms which are associated with this phenomena, which were discovered by Becquerel. Okay, these are radioactivity, radioactive elements. Okay, so what is radioactivity? Radioactivity is a phenomena due to which some elements, they emit highly penetrating radiation spontaneously. It's a phenomena due to which some elements, they emit highly penetrating radiations. They can penetrate through anything. So highly penetrating radiations which come out spontaneously. Okay. Then radioactive elements are those elements which emit these type of radiations. Okay, on their own. For example, see uranium, thorium, radium, polonium, etc. And after this discovery, this Ernest Rutherford, he devised a method to study the radioactive radiations. According to him, these radiations consist of three kinds of alpha particles, beta particles, and gamma radiations. So he found that these radiations, they consist of three kinds of particles that they present in these radiations. Okay, three kinds of radiations they come out. One is alpha particles, second is beta particles, and third is gamma radiations. Okay, now all these radiations are emitted from the nucleus of the radioactive elements. Now, none of them are involving the electrons here. Only all these radiations, that is alpha particles, beta particles, gamma radiations, all are coming out through the nucleus. The characteristics of these radiations are, first is alpha particles that consist of 2 protons and 2 neutrons. Example, nuclei of helium, which has this 2 protons and 2 neutrons. They have +2 units charge and 4 AMU mass. atomic mass unit. Okay. So the alpha particles, they consist of 2 protons, 2 neutrons, that is the nucleus of helium, which is coming out. Alpha particles then have 2 units charge and 4 AMU mass. Okay. And they are slightly affected by electric and magnetic fields. They have least power of penetration through the matter. Okay. These alpha particles, their penetration power is very, very less through the matter. Okay. Next, we come to the beta particles. The beta particles consist of electrons which is -1 unit charge. They had positive charge, +2. See, alpha particles, they have +2 charge, but beta particles, they have -1 unit charge. Okay, and they are strongly affected by electric and magnetic fields, whereas alpha particles were not so much affected. They were very little affected by the electric and the magnetic fields. And they can penetrate, these beta particles can penetrate through 5 mm of aluminium and 1 mm of lead, 1 millimeter of lead thickness and 5 millimeter of aluminium if thickness, it can penetrate through it. But this alpha particles, there were very least amount of it was penetrable. Okay. Now, if we come to gamma radiations are electromagnetic radiations having the length which is less than the X-rays, wavelength. These are the gamma radiations. They have no mass, no charge. Okay. And also they are not affected by the electric or magnetic fields, but they can penetrate 30 centimeter thick iron also. So their penetration power is the maximum. Okay, this gamma radiations power, penetration power is maximum, but they have no mass, no charge, not affected by electric and magnetic fields. Okay, so see, these persons, they discovered this, Henry Becquerel, Marie Curie, Pierre Curie, they all discovered this radioactivity, this gamma, beta, and alpha, gamma, and beta radiations. These were the nucleus from where the alpha particles have penetrated, the beta particles, and the gamma radiations. See, right? See, these alpha particles, see, paper also, it cannot penetrate. Beta can penetrate through paper, but aluminum thickness, if it is there, 5 millimeter thickness, then it cannot penetrate. Gamma radiations could penetrate the lead also. Okay. So I think I'll stop here. I'll continue with the rest of the series of this chapter. Remaining part of the chapter in my next video. Please go through this. If you have any doubt, please do let me know. Write in the comment box. You can also refer to my email ID, that is kasturi74@gmail.com. And do share with your friends and colleagues so that they can also be benefited from these videos. And also do subscribe to get the notification of my next video. And also that can help me make me more enthusiastic to produce your good videos for you. Okay. And do such some work for you. Okay. So please do subscribe. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for watching and have a good day.